Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Group Chat. We have a action-packed episode, but first, we got to talk about a couple things. Conor McGregor just took over the meme world from Bernie Sanders. It's unbelievable how quickly the meme universe moves. Conor McGregor is now officially the sleepiest guy in the world. So we're going to talk about...
They merged. There were some combo memes.
There were?
Yeah. Bernie was smoking out Conor.
And then we have a lot of information that we want to continue to share about vaccinations and what we're hearing. And then news. There are some big things happening in technology. The biggest is what's happening with Clubhouse. We really deep dive into Clubhouse and why you should get on it and why this could be your chance to become famous if that's what you've been looking to do. Should follow Paul Ripke if you speak German. He's big on Clubhouse, apparently. And then we talk about big earnings week. You have Tesla, Microsoft, and Apple. I don't know if it even matters what these people are going to say in their earnings, but it's going to be a blockbuster week. And then we're going to find out who's going to the Super Bowl, but not during this episode because we're still watching these games. And then we have a shout out from our favorite guy. The biggest Indian star in the world. Literally the biggest. Shouting us out on today's episode of the podcast. Actually, you also don't want to miss Modern RX because they have actually a blockbuster guest. Dr. Raj is in the building for Modern RX. And if you don't know Dr. Raj, then you don't know LA because this guy might be the most famous person in LA. When you're at a dinner party or you're at a club, I hear a lot of girls dropping this guy's name. This guy is big time.
And then separately, you Google Dr. Raj, and it says he's got a $150 million house in Bel Air.
Yes,
that's Google. That's not. I've never met the guy.
That is insane. So let's get into today's episode. We have a great one ahead, and let's go.
Cash.
Ladies and gentlemen, Group Chat.
Cash.
It's $1 trillion. Hot.
All right, everyone, we are back. It is Monday or Sunday, depending on what time you're listening. And we have a big week ahead of us. But first, we need to talk about something that happened big over the weekend. It was actually quite a big sports weekend, I would say globally, because Conor McGregor, Mr. Fuck you himself, which I had no idea. I thought this guy retired.
Yeah, I mean, it's a money grab. And obviously, the McGregor fight. So the UFC set up Fight Island in Abu Dhabi. Yeah. I have a friend who went. He was sending me videos. It looks like they've done an incredible job. But let's get to the fight. So, Mr. McGregor, round two.
Who did he fight?
Poirier. I've never even heard of this guy. Okay. McGregor beat him. So this was a revenge. I mean, I don't follow UFC at all, obviously. Yeah. So apparently McGregor's already beaten this guy, and this was like the revenge match, and McGregor was heavily favored, and all the money was on McGregor. And it's not just because, I mean, he's the fan favorite. You'd assume the UFC wants McGregor to win because if he wins, you get more big fights because no one would watch this fight if it weren't for Conor. And he got his ass kicked.
What's interesting is I didn't watch it. I honestly, we were 7 episodes into Love Life, the new sitcom or rom-com on HBO Max. And the thing that I don't understand about Conor McGregor, I've only heard 2 things, and he's lost both times. He lost to Floyd Mayweather.
Mm-hmm.
That was boxing, which he's not good at. He lost this fight, and it sounds like he's going to get his ass kicked by Jake Paul.
So did you see Jake Paul post? He was going to offer him $50 million. He's like, I'll offer you $10,000 because he got his ass.
And I saw the reason why I brought up all that is all I saw was like a lot of like people like defending how great Conor McGregor is. I understand he's box office for the sport and he attracts because he's like a Trump figure. He's like, just says nonsense and people are attracted to him. But like, you're not the GOAT if you lose. You're just not.
No, but so I obviously don't follow UFC whatsoever. I watch the maybe 2 fights a year that everyone like talks about. And I didn't even watch this when I was watching it on Twitter and just getting the updates on Twitter. And I think that's what the UFC core fans, that's what keeps UFC going, is that people get unseated very quickly. So Conor was so great. Obviously he's washed now, but like he lost even when he was at his peak. And I think that's the beauty of the UFC, that you have these upstarts come in and dethrone the big guy, and then he's the star. And so you have a never-ending supply of stars.
Yeah, but I get that. But it sounds like UFC still needs Conor McGregor from a business standpoint.
I think to get someone like me to watch, yes. Because if it was just this guy and whoever the number 2 guy is right now, I have no idea who even that name is. Like, I guess Khabib, right? Khabib's a big name. I've heard that a lot. So
yeah, exactly.
But they have this core audience that I think the business is huge. So the core audience will watch it forever. But to get these moments where you get people who don't give a shit about UFC like me to watch, you do need these personalities.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think is why they're probably vehemently defending Conor McGregor as still such a great athlete. But in any other sport, like, today is the AFC and NFC championship in the NFL. If Tom Brady doesn't win, we're going to be like, he's not that good.
And no, it's funny. So we're recording this in the third quarter of the Packers Buccaneers game, and I'm getting text threads from people, because it's so funny how gambling changes your opinion on a player. So the Packers were down big in the first half, and I hear people saying Rodgers is a tier 2 talent. Like this guy, they have already given up on the guy.
Well, it's just gambling just changes your mood and perspective of sports.
The cornerback who got burned at the end of the first half, people want him dead. If you look at Twitter, like people want him dead.
Yeah, which is nuts.
People are calling for him to be cut. I mean, this guy had one bad play, and they're saying cut him from the team.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is why I'm not a fan of sports fans, because usually gambling is involved and people say the craziest stuff. We've been in the stands and we've heard how people talk about players. It's just so wrong and ridiculous. I don't even, whatever. But either way, it's a big weekend for sports. Exciting to see what happens in the NFL and who ends up in the Super Bowl. And then in 2 weeks, we'll have the Super Bowl in Tampa Bay. Curious to see if, given the lack of fan attendance all season, has a final impact on the number of viewers for the actual game. Like, are NFL fans less engaged because, if you're a season ticket holder and you go to every single game and it's more part of your life, you get together with your friends to watch the Super Bowl. Like,
so is this the last super spreader event? Everyone's going to be indoors with like 30 people. Like, so we had Thanksgiving, we had Christmas, we had New Year's. So those are 3. We saw the cases just go crazy. This is probably the last event until the vaccine rollout happens and the virus is dead. Because you're going to have multi-generational families all cramming into a living room to watch. Especially, this is a blockbuster Super Bowl. Like, you have Rodgers, and then you have Mahomes or the Bills. The Bills have this like history and legacy. I know Josh Allen is an incredible quarterback, but Mahomes is the blockbuster name, but the Bills have history. So
here's the problem. I'll tell you from a Corona standpoint, you want the Bucks and the Chiefs. Because in Wisconsin, how Green Bay, I'm sure like Pete's, all generations are getting together of the Pete's. And it's like 75 people in a house, and they're just going to wipe each other out.
Yeah, or they're already doing that.
In Buffalo, can you imagine in Buffalo, it's freezing cold and they haven't been to the Super Bowl in like 30 years or whatever. For the sake of America's health, we need the Bucks and the Chiefs. Chiefs have been there, so they're confident, they're good. It won't be such a novelty.
Florida man doesn't care.
And by the way, there's no such thing as a Buccaneers fan. Like, we all just jumped on that bandwagon 2 weeks ago. Yeah. So, like, you think about that, and it's so interesting to see that dynamic. But special shout out to our very own Kathy, Josh Allen, who joined us on the podcast fresh off last year's season, which he had an incredible season. And one of his buddies, a really good friend, Kyle Allen, is also a good friend of the pod. They both came on the podcast. And it was an interesting conversation because at that time, Josh and Kyle were going around LA looking for a new watch for Josh. Mm-hmm. And Josh, who, obviously was a top pick, obviously has money, was debating between like a Breitling, I think, and then a Rolex. And I'm like, you can't be rolling around in a Breitling. I mean, or a Tag Heuer. Like, you gotta buy something. We were trying to give him like the starter pack Rolex or a suggestion. I mean, now he's buying whatever he wants, I hope.
Yeah, props to Josh Allen, because I've been rooting for him ever since we got to meet him, and he's such a good dude, and he's obviously incredible. I've listened to NFL podcasts from preseason, even through the first few weeks, and everyone doubted him. And there were people saying that he's never going to be that guy that can take your team to the Super Bowl, that even get to this far. And those same critics have all come around, and he's silenced everyone, and he's balling.
You know what's more annoying than anything are sports critics. Yeah,
they get paid for hyperbole.
Yeah. I would love to get paid for hyperbole. I have a lot of hyperbole in my life. But we'll have to see how it all pans out. But exciting weekend nonetheless. And before we kind of jump into our normal, I know we had a normal list of news topics. I want to just jump ahead. Clubhouse.
Yep.
Is rumored to be getting investment, or looks like they've closed the investment round. We just don't know the details yet, of a valuation of $1 billion.
Yep.
And the first round of funding these guys got was it $10 million at $100 million valuation? They got no money before that?
Yeah, so it was two guys, Paul and Rohan, who just started it on their own, and it was a two-man team, and then it started going viral within a very small community. So I joined in, I think, end of March, first week of April, right when lockdowns happened. And I think I was one of the first few hundred users on the platform. It was so enticing that even we've talked about many times, Zuck showed up.
Yeah. And he copied it like 3 weeks later.
So, I think 2 to 3 months later. So it was pretty funny early on in Clubhouse's history. If you looked at who was in the rooms, it was, I would say, 80% VCs, because they were all pandering to the founders and just trying to log as many minutes as possible to lead the round. It was Sequoia, Benchmark, you name it. It was like the biggest venture capitalist, just hanging in rooms, doing platforms and whatnot. And then obviously Andreessen took the round. I don't know what the dynamics were at that point. Like, did they just outprice everyone? Because it was 10 at 100, and the founders each took $1 million off the table. It's all public. Like, this is no inside info. And everyone thought that was insane. But this is one of the rare times where I think the investor mattered so much early on.
100%.
Andreessen Horowitz, and shout out to Chris Lyons and Felicia Horowitz, like, as soon as they did that round, they started hosting a Saturday night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, basically like town hall. And this is really early in Clubhouse when there weren't that many rooms. Now you go on, like, it's insane. You could find room for anything. And they brought on like the most famous and powerful people in Black culture, if you want to like just call a spade a spade. And then,
not just Black culture, just culture, period.
Yeah, culture, period. And then it went viral after that. And they actively, like, Chris Lyons runs the Cultural Leadership Fund within Andreessen Horowitz, which is a fund that I know Nas is invested in. I think Jay-Z, Draymond, like a bunch of like stars.
Yeah.
And he leveraged that fund and who the investors are to get them on the platform to start hosting panels. Yeah. And then it took off.
Yeah.
The product is always incredible. Even when I was first on, I remember showing it to you, Dee. I was like, I have no idea what's going to happen, but this is amazing.
Yeah. And here's the really the $1 trillion answer that I think a lot of people struggle with is how do you dethrone big tech? And it's been a foregone conclusion that if you do anything in social media, you say Facebook is going to win. If you do anything in e-commerce, Amazon is going to win. If you do anything in, with the exception of search, I think is the only place where there doesn't seem to be an incumbent that can potentially challenge Google. You're seeing this clear appetite for newness in technology and newness in brands, newness in the way you do things. And what we learned in the pandemic is there is absolutely no loyalty in social media. There's no loyalty in the way you get content. There's no loyalty in anything. So if you really think about who are some of the winners of the last year, OnlyFans, by far the biggest winner, right? Like that is a multi-billion-dollar business.
I would say TikTok probably first, then OnlyFans.
Sure. So I still believe there'll be regulation against TikTok in America, but let's assume there isn't. So TikTok clearly struck a chord with Americans globally. Then you have OnlyFans, like I said, Cameo, which is just a way for celebrities to get paid to do shout outs. I would kind of consider this new form of commerce, social commerce, some sort of version of that. And then you have what's happening on Clubhouse. Clubhouse engagement is fucking bananas. What'd you say? 1 million?
So they had 1 million daily active users 2 weeks ago. They have 2 million now.
Okay.
They went from 1 to 2 million in 2 weeks. And I want to just go back in history. I think a pivotal moment in Clubhouse in a positive way was the discussions happening on Clubhouse during BLM in June. It was probably the most free-form discussion of people actually just voicing their opinions. And it was actually a very good discussion because there were opposing views, but it didn't get out of hand. It wasn't screaming and yelling. It was just a really honest, raw conversation. And it's funny how just moments in history can just give you that catalyst that you didn't expect. They built this before the pandemic, right? They were working on this before. And then the pandemic happens, and then it gets really interesting because now you have all these super smart people and successful people that have nothing to do all day now, but sit at home. So they all jump on. And then you have this other moment in history, which is the social justice movement that just goes viral in the country. And they had the most interesting people on talking about it.
Well, I think what's happened very quickly. So I'm not an active participant in Clubhouse, but it reminds me very much of early Twitter days where something happens and you go to a platform because you want to see what the world is saying. And that's what Clubhouse has become. Something happens in popular culture, it immediately, they're handing out stimulus, there's a stimmy chat. Something happens in politics, there's a political moment. Something happens in finance, e-com, whatever. And what's happening within Clubhouse, I get invited for a Clubhouse chat every freaking day. Somebody hits me up and says, I'm doing a discussion on X. Would you join me? It's insane. Literally every single day, someone has hit me up. And these rooms, I see them posted afterwards. There's hundreds of people in everyone's room. And in some cases, the big ones, there's thousands of people in the room.
And honestly, we talked about Paul Ripke. The German rooms are insane. There's 200 people this morning in a room that Paul Ripke does. For context, 1,200 people in a Clubhouse room is insane. Insane. And obviously, I don't understand anything that's going on because it's all in German. But that virality in Germany is real. I saw he has 61,000 followers. We talked about 41,000. Then he had 40,000. Now he has 61,000.
Paul sent me a voice note, which I find very annoying. He sent it to me and said, I invited you to do a Clubhouse chat with me, to do a show with me. You didn't do it. You could have been famous in Germany. I mean,
were you expect to speak in German?
Maybe he could translate it for me. I'll get a translator.
Do a panel with him. Get us famous on Clubhouse in Germany.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I think what's exciting about the Clubhouse series of events is it just proves that the market dynamic has shifted and the big brands are not the most popular brands anymore. We don't love them like we did 5 years ago, right? Like people, if there was an alternative to Instagram that was good and could reach network effect soon, everyone would leave. There's absolutely no brand loyalty in this space.
So if you think about just the way tech investors were talking maybe 3-4 years ago, if you're consumer social media, we're done. It's over.
Yeah.
Facebook won, Instagram won. It's done. Not touching it. So then, since then, let's see what's blown up. Discord.
Yeah.
TikTok. You can call OnlyFans. It's a social network effectively, but you can argue what's going on Fortnite. Like that's like another social network. Like people are hungry. Snapchat obviously was written off for dead. They're thriving. They're crushing it. Yeah. So I guess the lesson is to learn whenever people say there's no way you can beat X, you can. You just have to make a more compelling product.
Yeah, and I think, look, there's a lot of things have to happen with timing. I think Clubhouse, I really would love to see, I want to fast forward to next year when the world is fully open. Like, are you just in the grocery line on Clubhouse yelling and screaming in public? Is that what you're doing? Like, because Clubhouse is easy to consume if you're just listening, like a podcast, right? So you could be at work, you could be in your car, and you could still be consuming it. If you want to participate, like, who has an hour and a half to sit and chat with random people all night?
It's crazy. I wake up around 7:30 every day, and there's rooms. Everyone's talking. Who's talking at 7 a.m?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's insane. I mean, but yeah, I mean, I think I'm curious to see how it plays out. They've also already started speaking out about how we're going to monetize, how people that have created a following monetize. It's going to be blockbusters. There's going to be Clubhouse stars. There's going to be people that are only Clubhouse stars that are going to break through. And I think the big thing that these new social networks are doing, which a lot of the early players didn't, specifically Facebook, is you're only as good as the creators on your platform. If you do not reward the top creators, they will leave. And TikTok was the best example. TikTok started breaking bread to every creator. Yep. And everyone started using it. Today, Clubhouse has already come out and said, we're gonna let people make money here. We're figuring it out. Snapchat has become this creator platform where they're doling out $1 million a day. Instagram and Facebook have not been kind to the creators. In fact, they've throttled their followings, throttled their engagement. So I'm glad technology companies have now come to the conclusion that, like, if we don't take care of our stars, they will leave. Yep. YouTube does a good job. YouTube, if you're a big YouTuber, I'm sure Google has you at their YouTube headquarters, and they're like, you need a camera, you need money. What do you need to do to keep your content pumping? I mean, of the big tech players, Apple, I think, is hard to disrupt because they just own our home at this point. I think it's just so difficult.
And hardware takes hundreds of billions to even get into.
Yeah. I think Google with search and YouTube are becoming increasingly impossible to stop. Like beating them in a search engine game, I just don't see how you do it, because you need the network effect of content that it's crawling, right? So that's difficult. YouTube seems to be a league of its own. Twitch is probably the only one, but that's only live stream. And Google controls
social network, Twitch. Yeah.
And then Amazon has mastered distribution, so it's been very difficult to compete with them on a large portion of consumption. Facebook looks the weakest.
Facebook does look the weakest because the platforms, just from the youth's perspective, is stale. So that's never a good thing when you only have old people that enjoy it. And old people meaning over 35. Like, I don't think a 25-year-old's psyched to go to their Instagram page.
No way. You could tell young people don't post. The only people that post are my friends.
And I want to also point out, like, this is an incredible opportunity if you're an entrepreneur to figure out how to use Clubhouse to boost your business, because this is such early days that I don't know what the solution is. Like, Should Grand Running Club do a wellness chat every Friday? Should like figure out what it works for your business, but there will be billion-dollar companies built off this platform.
100%. Yeah,
can I say one thing? So we actually have a listener who I've connected with on Clubhouse who's actually said he's already figured out a way to make money. He's somewhat of an investor and a Robinhood type, and he's already talked about selling classes. And he gets in these rooms and is now like has people interested where he can actually sell back like a master class on investing.
So the bigger opportunity, I like that idea, and that's great. Mm-hmm. The bigger opportunity, for example, for me, if I went and hosted a chat every single day, right? Let's say 50 people show up the first day, 100 people show up the second week, the third week get thousands. I will build a following like I would have built on Instagram, and we all know once you have a following and they're engaged, you can sell them stuff. So it's an enormous opportunity. It's almost like if you have a social media plan or marketing plan in your business, and depending on what you sell, Clubhouse could be the right platform for you. So, whereas like if you're in fashion, unless you're talking about like sustainability and things like that, Clubhouse could be an incredible platform. But if you're in just purely visual fashion, then maybe Instagram or TikTok still makes a lot of sense. But it doesn't matter what you do. There's an angle for you at Clubhouse. You just have to have the time. And that's why it's great for someone that's just starting to just sit there. Because think about this about Clubhouse. The biggest stars aren't on Clubhouse yet, and they're coming. Donald J. Trump will be on Clubhouse, and he's going to have a chat. And it's going to be the big...
Give me who the founders are.
But he has to do something negative on that platform first. But Donald Trump, imagine when he does the Patriot Party chat on Clubhouse.
Like, no, just go another step. Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, Ben Shapiro. Dave Portnoy has not joined Clubhouse yet.
Yeah,
you're talking.
He's a guy that like wants to stay on. Even though he's in his 40s, he's like, what do I have to do? He has podcasts with TikTokers because he knows if I need to stay relevant, I need to fuck with these kids.
I guarantee you in the next 2 weeks, Dave Portnoy will have the biggest chat on Clubhouse within 2 weeks. He's going to have...
Here's the uniqueness of it and why it's different than a podcast. So if you're like a Dave Portnoy, you have all these like ways you're engaging with your community. You have your podcast, your YouTube, Instagram. But no one ever gets to really touch and feel you. Clubhouse, you can just pick up the random person and they're like, holy shit, I'm talking to Dave Portnoy, and they're going to lose their shit. And it's the same. That's the magic of why it works, because it's funny, like it's a platform that kind of like just makes it available for everyone to feel like they're in touch with someone. It's a personal in touch that Instagram used to have, that now feels so distant. Like Instagram used to be like, oh, you're letting me in your life. Like, that's cool. But then it became so doctored and like everything was just highly produced, and it was bullshit. And that magic was lost. But the magic here is you're getting live, raw audio, unedited, and random people can just ask questions. And that's the secret sauce. Yeah.
And Twitter was the first that let you touch and feel your favorite person. Yeah. And he got to have a conversation because they would reply to random people, like celebrities would do that. And I think Clubhouse just takes it to another level because you're literally in a discussion room with your favorite, like, especially like if you're into rap, the people that are in those rooms are ridiculous.
Yeah. It's Meek Mill, 21 Savage, you name it. Joe Budden.
Yeah. Like the only Clubhouse that I've actually listened to for more than 5 minutes is Joe Budden's. Yeah. And it's pretty cool just to hear those conversations. Anyways, we spent a lot of time on that, but I think we were early on telling people to get engaged on TikTok, and we kept telling everyone to go do that. Clubhouse will be the next thing. And what it should tell you is...
I mean, it couldn't have been earlier than Clubhouse. I was literally one of the first few hundred users.
Exactly, literally. And now you see the network effect. It's gone, and it's not too late. It's just so early. No one's on Clubhouse still. 2 million users.
And that's globally. It's probably 1 million Germans.
Yeah, 1 million are German. I mean, the real move is learn German and be a German Clubhouse star. Befriend Paul Ripke and just ride the German wave. And by the way, it's not even available for Android. So You think about it in India. Imagine all these Indians just once Android hits.
They have 1 billion users.
Yeah, it's amazing. And you know what? The interesting thing, I was thinking about this. The server cost for audio must be so much less than video and photos. I don't know anything about server cost.
But they're also not saving anything. So it's way cheaper. There's no storage. Your audio goes and it disappears.
Yeah, it's amazing. All right, well, let's move on. I know we're did a whole Clubhouse promo here. Let's go on to the number one news in the world still. 25 million COVID cases of tested positive cases have occurred now in the United States. So now we're vaccinating people. That's drastically increased in the last couple of days in America. Everyone in America is still very, very upset about the pace of vaccinations. And then as I read more about other countries, it sounds like everyone's a disaster with vaccine distribution. I don't think any country successfully, any large country has successfully figured out how to vaccinate its population.
Yeah, I think Israel's the gold standard, but it's a much smaller population, right?
Exactly. It's a small population. It's, you know, what strikes me as the most interesting thing is that we've had 10, 11 months of this lockdown. Governments have had enough time to figure out how to distribute vaccines, and they've not done it. And in America, I'll give them credit. The last 5 days, it seems like at least California and LA, people are getting vaccinated.
Yeah, in LA for sure. I think anyone over 65 is having zero problems. Like every single one of my friends' parents has gotten vaccinated if they tried. But you have to try, and that's the problem, right? You have to refresh these sites. These sites are terrible. And yeah, you try once and you don't get your appointment and throw your hands up, you're not going to get a vaccine and an appointment. But I want to bring up an article that the LA Times posted yesterday, and it's about vaccine chasers. So what was going on was basically at these fire departments, there were unused vaccines that people were just throwing away, which is insane because the moment you unpack a Moderna vaccine, you have 6 hours to use it. So if you don't use it in 6 hours, it's not valid the next day. Yeah. And so the fire department just started giving them away to whoever showed up, which is the right thing to do. And so you had all these young people show up, that word spread, and I have friends who went and did it, and they went and got the vaccine last week. And then there was this whole, like, you're stealing from the old and the healthcare workers, and okay, that's one thing, but like, this is the most solvable problem of all time. Have a vaccine site, have one line for the 65 plus and healthcare workers. If there's 0 people on that line, start vaccinating the other line. There should never be a minute where you're not vaccinating people.
Yeah. And
like, I don't know why people want to make, and the article is so, like, I get what they were trying to do, but they were sensationalizing. It was like, oh, you had these 27-year-olds who had Uber Eats drivers drop off frittatas and stealing vaccines from the poor. I was like, make an appointment or show up. And if they just want, and like the vaccine centers itself, from what I experienced, from what everyone else is experiencing, they just want to vaccinate. They don't want to throw these goddamn vaccines away.
Yeah, and here's where, just to give you a sense of what the politicians are thinking. And I don't blame them, because the problem is the message gets lost. A state like California, which is predominantly Hispanic, has really destroyed those communities because of COVID, COVID-related illnesses, COVID-related deaths. They are desperately trying to get those communities vaccinated. They want to treat those people first. The problem is, and I'm hearing it, I just was at the park with another family, and we're talking about just people we know, and a lot of these people, specifically Latino people, they're hesitant. They don't know what they want. Like they've made comments on like, this is why I don't want to get it. I heard this. I heard that. So there's a misinformation campaign happening in certain communities that have scared certain groups of people that need to get vaccinated. And what the politicians have said is, we need to get those people vaccinated first. And
it's no coincidence where the vaccine centers are.
Yes, the vaccine centers are not in any good neighborhood in LA. They're just not. And because they know they need to make it easy for that group of people, because in the California's eyes, if we solve the problem in those communities, the problem then all of a sudden becomes less of a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And then what's happened is all these, and let's just call it what it is, white people go to these vaccine centers and are waiting for hours to hope to get a vaccine. And then they get vaccinated. And now you get an article like LA Times that says that that's not fair. I mean, the state of California, I'm only speaking California, they should have been educating people about vaccinations as soon as we knew that shit was coming, like 2 months ago. There's money set aside to educate people. And they should have been figuring out what that plan looks like. And then to blame, like people want to blame white people for standing in line and getting vaccinated. I can't be mad at that.
No,
it's ridiculous.
I don't blame anyone, because the vaccine centers themselves, and like I've spoken to some of the doctors we go to, they're like, if you have a shot to go get the vaccine, go get it. Like,
yes.
They do not waste them. Like that's the bottleneck. The bottleneck is wasting the vaccine. You waste the vaccine because of this like fake moral quandary you're having in your head. Like, you don't get the problem. Every less spreader is a benefit.
Yeah. And it may just take time to get some of these communities informed so they feel comfortable with the vaccine. And maybe here's where I think you'll get the biggest participation is employers are now dropping the hammer. United Airlines came out and said 60,000 employees, everyone's got to get vaccinated.
And so that the luggage carry, like the people that are taking out the luggage in the airlines and all that?
Everything.
60,000, that would have to.
Yeah, and you shared an article that Dollar General employees are getting 4 hours of pay to go get vaccinated.
Yep.
And that's how I think you get some of these lower income communities is when their employers just say you have to be vaccinated.
Or
and by the way,
just go to Walmart and say every hourly employee gets $1,000. Go get vaccinated. Think about how that would stop the spread.
But here's the thing: I don't think it should be Walmart's responsibility.
Or the government should go subsidize Walmart employees. Say, here's the $500 stimulus. Go get a vaccine.
Yeah, and here's where it'll get tricky: is that people don't understand. You can mandatory make it so you have to get vaccinated to work at a company.
Of course,
that's not illegal.
No, private companies can do that. So
I think that's how we ultimately get lower income communities vaccinated, is by just making it strict, where like if Ralph's grocery store says every employee has to be vaccinated, then that's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, and then it should then you just take it a step further. You want to walk in the Dollar General store, you better show your vaccine card.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I mean that's the only way that we're going to get this thing going, because the politicians know they have to get those communities vaccinated. Yeah. They just fucked up on messaging it. They just didn't do it right. They didn't get the right people to talk about it. They should have had like community they should have been in churches. They should have got buy-in from pastors. They should have got, the local temple leader, whatever. Yeah. Get people informed and educated on the ground, because it's similar to how Clubhouse can go viral. Getting a vaccine can go viral like this. You get the right people in each community. Speaking of the madness of anti-vaxxers, there's a crazy, sad story in California of a San Francisco man who's an anti-vaxxer who I guess was in a bitter custody battle with his wife, ended up killing his son and then killing himself.
I mean, I hope he goes. I mean, they're all dead, right?
I think the woman is still alive.
This is insane. And this is all over a vaccine.
Well, I mean, look,
children's vaccines, not the corona vaccine.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's scary is that and the only reason why I brought this article up, because I don't think it's relevant to what's happening in the vaccine kind of. Actually, it is in the sense that there is so much misinformation on the impact of the vaccine, what actually is the vaccine. And, if you listen to a podcast like this and we're talking about it and we bring on experts, we bring on doctors, from heads of pharmaceutical companies, our goal is really just to inform you so you can make an educated decision if vaccines are safe for you.
I went and got it.
This is a function of Facebook, YouTube, this is where wrong free speech is affecting the progress of our country. Where do you think they're getting this information? They're getting it off social media.
Yeah, they're getting riled up over, like, they go down a rabbit hole of anti-vaccines and how they cause autism. Bill Gates is doing this to control society. It's all that, like, we joke about all these things, but, like, it's real. It affects millions of people because if you're already skeptical about something, you can go on the internet and become violently skeptical about something very quickly.
Yeah, and the problem is these are people that are eating unhealthy, putting all kinds of crap in their body, but have a problem with the vaccine that, billions of people are going to take this vaccine, whether you take it or not. When it's all said and done, billions of people would have taken it. So, I get scared when I see these articles, but then I hear stories every single day about why people aren't taking the vaccine. And it's just wrong. It's just wrong information.
Yep.
Speaking of the Patriot Party, not the New England Patriots, Donald Trump's party, he apparently has $70 million of cash on hand, and there's a chance it could be called the MAGA Party also.
Okay.
So the name has not been kind of determined, and his goal is to squeeze GOP senators to avoid impeachment conviction. So he knows starting tomorrow, we kick off impeachment, right? I think the House.
They're trying to start it all tomorrow.
Okay, so that's Monday. And the goal is that it's in a Senate trial in the next couple of weeks.
So just to explain what you're highlighting is basically he has all this money on hand left over from the campaign. He's going to go to Republicans that are in hotly contested seats in the next 2 years to say, like, I will primary your ass with the opposing candidate if you go along with this.
Yes.
That's effectively what's going on.
So what's interesting is that, like, his followers at this point, all they're doing is trying to help him from going to jail. That is it. He is not actually able to make any impact on America anymore. He had a shot. He blew it. He's done. So instead, what he's going to do, he's going to use the power of his following to save his own ass. The ultimate selfish move. Well, he's going to act like a martyr.
He's also trying to do this just to stay alive for 2024.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he cares whether he gets impeached, other than there's some bad PR, but his fans don't give a shit. This completely neuters him from ever being relevant in politics again, which is why he's willing to go to this measure. So he's hanging out in Mar-a-Lago now. I would love to see the conversations be a fly on the wall in those dinners and golf outings. Like, who's down there hanging out with him?
The same people that were hanging out before him. They don't care.
Oh, God.
I mean, you don't want to get...
You think Zach Nicholas is down there playing golf with him still?
For sure.
You think Bill Belichick, now that he's in the offseason, go down, say hi to his friend Donald?
Bill Belichick's probably watching the game today, and next week he'll head down. I just don't see why these people, his guy's approval rating's the same. He only lost a few million fans. Maybe nobody wants the photo op, but, like, they're not, I don't know. I just don't see.
Yeah, it's interesting. So Maria Bartiromo, who made basically the last 4 years, she got super relevant because she would get Trump and just throw softball questions. And she has a business show. And CEOs are actively saying, we're not showing up if Maria Bartiromo is the host. And she actually was saying that she, like, encouraged the Antifa was part of January 6th. And that was the tipping point where CEOs are like, we're not going on the show.
Yeah, and I think that's what people, the decision that folks have to make who supported him is, what are the corporate consequences? That is not anything to do with free speech. That is, we could do whatever we want as business people. If we don't like you, we don't have to work with you.
Yeah.
And that is going to be a big challenge for all the people that continue down this rabbit hole of Donald Trump. So interesting to see. Speaking of his best friends over in Russia, there seemed to be a lot of chaos happening in Russia right now. So 3,000 people were arrested. I don't know if you saw this video last week of this guy, Alexei Navalny, that was flying back to Moscow after being poisoned by a Russian agent.
Yep.
What was he in Germany? What country was he in?
I believe he was in Germany. We got to get Paul Ripke to get us the inside info. What are they doing to this guy?
Yeah. So then he ends up back he lands in Russia and gets arrested immediately.
Yeah, there was videos when he landed in Moscow that I saw that were publicly posted of Russian police waiting for him to get off the plane to immediately arrest him.
And now there's protesters hitting the streets saying, release him. But it's interesting because, like, Putin would love to be China. He just doesn't have the power or the money, No,
do you know what it is? I think he just doesn't have the technology. Like, China has the infrastructure to control everyone, given the way how technologically advanced China is, from their social media companies, from surveillance. Like, you can actually actively control it. Like, Russia's a country, like China's a country that the middle class is growing like crazy and there's a lot of rich people. And in Russia, it's the oligarchs and then the rest of the country's poor.
Yeah.
Right? You have 1% of the country that is rich as shit and the rest that are just left behind poor and they don't give a shit about them. And so what's going on is the youth, similar to what happened in Arab Spring and stuff, they're just like, we're done. Like, we already know we have no shot of advancement in our economic lives. So they have nothing to lose. And that's what you're seeing. They're like bashing police cars. Yeah. And it's like the first time I think people have, like, at this scale, seen this number of people actually actively oppose Russian authorities. I saw one video of this woman who was peacefully talking to a group of people, like probably like 100 people. And it was probably a free speech discussion. And the riot police just bulldozed through and just tackled her and took her away. It's crazy what's going on there.
And here's the one thing, if you're going to be like this totalitarian dictatorship, whatever it is, what China did early on, I mean, the vision of this is blocking Google, blocking Facebook, blocking Twitter. Day one. They were never allowed.
And I think what they did, even if you think about their vision, they made sure that the most of the country is actually going to participate in the economy. Yeah. So like if you're in China and you're a family of four that's middle class, you're willing to give up all your civil liberties because the generation before was poor. You're like, now I can provide for my kids and send them to school and they have a chance to work and do, like, it's a communist capitalist regime, which is, like, obviously weird to say, but they use communist policies, but they allow capitalism to exist.
Yeah. And as long as you don't have any moral objections of what you're doing, you're allowed to get rich.
The difference in Russia, they didn't let anyone participate.
Yeah.
It was just
it was only Putin's selections of oligarchs that got to participate.
Correct.
It'll be interesting because, like,
off the list, can't visit there either after this episode goes up.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's quite interesting to see, like, we're on the precipice of, like, several cultural revolutions occurring. Like, one's happening in America. We're witnessing, what's happening. Russia is dealing with it. All across Europe, they've been dealing with it for really the last couple of years. So I don't know. I'm really curious to see, like, social media brought a lot of awareness, but now it really comes down to, like, what's the impact that these businesses are going to have on the next generation? Because, like, think about, like, there could be a conversation where, like, in Russia, these people are on Clubhouse plotting to overthrow the government.
Yeah, because Russian authorities have no idea what Clubhouse is.
Exactly, and, like,
I'll invite 19 Russians. Go talk.
Yeah, I mean that, and even in China, I'm sure they're like, "What's Clubhouse?" Next thing you know, it, like, I mean, it's crazy times. I'm really curious to see. Speaking of China, Everyone in China is going vegan. That's what I'm hearing. So I'll give you an example of how quickly this plant-based dynamic is happening in China. In America, in 2018, $684 million was the plant-based industry in America. In China, plant-based meat substitutes was $618 million. In 2018, it was $910 million in China. So it's already bigger in China than in America. Granted, we know their population is much larger. But very interesting, because that is very much a meat culture, very much a culture of seafood and all these types of things. And the fact that it is happening there this quickly, is that the government's way of like making sure their population stays healthy?
No. I actually don't think they give a shit about that, because if you think about the last 20 years, they were unlimited KFCs were being open, McDonald's, everyone. They don't, obviously those aren't healthy. I think this is food security. So I've heard this from a few people that governments are trying to secure supply of like Beyond Meat, Impossible Meat, all these alternative meats, creating their own, so that if you can manufacture the food yourself, you never have to rely on imports. So if there's a natural disaster of wherever you're getting food, if this is made in a factory, kind of scientifically, it's a national security threat to actually be able to, or it's in the interest of national security to always be able to feed your population. So I think China, because they have the 2020 vision, right? They think 25 years out, and they can, because the politicians are there until they get cooed or they leave.
Yeah.
So if you look at Xi, he's just like, look, if I rely on beef and I rely on chicken, think about how many variables there are, right? You need water supply, you need land, you need all these things. And it has nothing to do with about like, oh, we want to save the environment. It's more like, I can guarantee food supply for my country and my population won't revolt. Because China does a good job of keeping the majority of people happy so that they don't revolt.
Yeah. And so they just got to make them a vegan chicken McNugget that tastes pretty good, and they're happy.
I forget if it was Impossible or Beyond, but they were already doing the pork buns version in China first before they even came here.
Oh.
So for like dim sum and all that stuff.
Which is interesting. Like when you think about that, I mean, I don't know all the I'm sure there's Chinese counterparts to Beyond and Impossible. This is another dynamic of like, when you look at TAM, which is the addressable market for those that don't know, you think about TAM as like if I can get a percentage of meat eaters to eat and that's it. But if you think about it from a food insecurity standpoint, it's way bigger.
Yeah, if you're like, I want to make sure the population in China is fed no matter what, and think about how many emergency stock supplies you have of fucking alternative meats.
Yeah, because you can't store.
With the way climate change is going, we're going to have natural disaster after natural disaster that's going to disrupt food supply. So food supply is actually like a huge national security risk for every country.
Yeah. Do you know Kyle over at Beyond Meat, Kyle Rubisky?
I don't.
Have you met him? I met him actually at the last Super Bowl, and he's been hyping up the Beyond Meat Pizza Hut.
Okay.
They did a collaboration. I am not a Pizza Hut guy. I'm a Domino's Ranch guy, but I'm eager to try the Beyond Meat Pizza Hut, because I just think there's going to be this whole movement of these plant substitutes for meat are just early stages. Like they're going to get taste. They're going to master taste way quicker than traditional beef suppliers are going to figure it out. Because Beyond Meat is not only just creating the underlying ingredient of the meat, they're actually trying to figure out the best ways to cook it with the best people. So imagine a cattle farmer going to Taco Bell and say, you should season your beef like this because it would taste better. They're not doing, the cattle farmer's not doing that. But Beyond Meat's like, no, we need it. They probably have a kitchen and they're making food.
I would do anything to go to Beyond or Impossible's offices to see what they're working on the outer years. They probably have everything already made and they're just testing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 100%. And I'm sure that the taste, the flavor, everything that everyone's commenting on,
healthier, lower sodium, all that stuff, lower preservatives, everything.
Yeah, it's exciting. And speaking of, they're obviously an innovative company, and we have a big week ahead in technology. We have Apple, Microsoft, and Tesla reporting earnings. So I don't think it actually matters. All the stocks are at 52-week high, but I mean, I can't imagine Apple or Microsoft reporting a bad earnings.
And
I'm sure they're blockbusters.
Matters what Tesla reports.
Doesn't matter what Tesla does, says, anything. We already know that stock continues to go up. It'll be interesting to see, but I'm guessing Apple had a blockbuster quarter. Fourth quarter, Apple.
I got a new iPhone. I contributed.
Yeah, I mean, everyone went and probably got an iPad. I got a new Apple TV.
And then everyone got those damn headphones that were like, whatever, $600 or whatever they were.
That I can't get till April.
Yeah.
I'm sold out till April. It's nuts. And I mean, Apple's quarterly sales are expected to cross $100 billion. And quarterly sales.
And let's talk about, like, Apple stores are closed all across California the entire quarter. They're closed down in Texas, and it won't matter.
Yeah. Insane. By the way, I read an interesting tweet someone posted. Microsoft, who owns Bing, which we make fun of as like a shitty search engine, does $7 billion in revenue.
I'm telling you, advertising on Bing, I think, is the ARB.
I should go all in on Bing?
Yeah.
Because it's just old people.
Old people
who have the Internet Explorer default.
We should actually advertise group chat because we can educate old people on what the youth are talking about.
Don't want to take vaccinations? Check us out on group chat. Yeah, that's crazy. And then, two last bits of piece of news. One is sad news. Larry King passed away with actually ruined his health conditions from COVID. He was obviously an old man to begin with. A healthcare worker came into his house and gave him COVID. And he was in and out of the hospital the last 2 weeks, and he passed away at 87 years old. And this one's special because I got to actually meet Larry King. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I got to meet Larry King was years ago, maybe 10 years ago, Andres, my business partner in 5'4", had a friend who was close with Larry King. I think maybe even styled him. And Larry King had been obsessed with wearing 5'4" jeans. And they were saying that he was wearing them every single day. And I was like, wow, that's cool. So they invited us over to the set. And we got to meet him. We took pictures with him on the desk. And we got to sit on the desk. And I posted some of them. And what's cool about it was Larry King, I think Andres asked him, like, hey, why do you like wearing our jeans, just out of curiosity? And he's like, you know why? Because my balls can fit in there comfortably.
At least he was honest.
So, RIP to the great Larry King. And you know what the cool thing about Larry King was? He had a posse that hung out at Nate Now's and then a coffee shop on South Beverly Drive called Brooklyn Bagel. And they would sit there and you could just go and join their conversation. I had been at Brooklyn Bagel once and just ran into and said, hey, we met before, blah, 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 blah. And they were just talking world politics, everything. And imagine, Larry King has interviewed over 50,000 people.
And
imagine the conversation.
History of the world.
Yes. And so fascinating story. Obviously, just incredible just to see, what this man accomplished in his life. And then I don't know if you saw Piers Morgan's backhanded compliment or backhanded tribute to Larry King.
I didn't see that. What did he do?
This is what Piers Morgan says. Larry King was a hero of mine until we fell out after I replaced him at CNN. And he said my show was like watching your mother-in-law go over a cliff in your new Bentley. He married 8 times, so a mother-in-law expert. But he was a brilliant broadcaster and masterful TV interviewer. The guy just died. Could you just said, just bygones be bygones?
Or just shut up and don't say anything.
Yeah.
Why are you dancing on his grave? Like, we don't know Larry King personally, so we can't speak to him and his interactions with Piers Morgan, but you just shut up in the time like this. I don't care what he does.
I know Larry King personally.
You do. Yeah, you're right. Great guy.
And finally, I mean, this is blockbuster news. I honestly don't know if I'll ever get a chance to stay at this hotel, but 11 partners plan a 65-story condo hotel tower in downtown Miami. So if you listen to this podcast, we've talked about 11 Miami a lot. If you don't know what it is a 24-hour strip club / nightclub / restaurant in downtown Miami, 24 hours a day. From what I've heard, it is the highest grossing nightclub by far in the entire world. They are opening a hotel, and the top floors will be essentially a strip club. A day club with a 20,000 square foot will feature cabanas, temperature-controlled plunge pools, and a gourmet food hall, a wellness. Like, who do they expect to stay here? Bachelor parties?
Yeah, so it's 400 units, 65 stories. That is a very limited group that you basically eliminated all families.
Yeah.
You've eliminated any non-bachelor party goer. Because how can you be like, hey, honey, I'm going to the 11 hotel.
Like it's a big conference down in Miami, and then you're like, yeah, where are you staying? You're staying at the Delano? No, I'm staying at the downtown spot. Which one? 11? Oh, the one that has strippers upstairs.
Like you physically, like, it's inconceivable for you to be like taking your 7-year-old kid in the elevator while strippers are going up to like go to work. And strippers, do your thing. I have no problem, but you're just eliminating families. Like I can't imagine a world where I think it's okay.
Any business traveler, think about it. Let's say you work for Google and you're like, yeah, I'd like to stay at the 11 hotel. They're going to be like, get the hell out of here. What company is going to allow you to corporate expense off staying at the 11 hotel? They should have named it something else.
It's just like, I know the 11 business is bulletproof, right? Like, it'll make money till the end of time, right? There's no question about it. But once you get into multi-purpose, multi-use, you got to think about multi-use. You can't just think about single use. 11 is a very single-use product.
What's funny is imagine, I mean, can you imagine the elevator in the morning, like when we go to breakfast at 7 o'clock, what's coming upstairs and downstairs?
Well, they're all going up still at 7.
Yeah. I walked out of 11 at 7 in the morning, and it's 10,000 people outside.
Oh, yeah. And on a big weekend, it doesn't, like, for context, 11 doesn't even go off till 2 or 3 in the morning.
Yeah, I mean, when Eric Deluxe used to get booked.
His call time's 4.
Yeah.
It's insane.
I don't. But
I think it's 2 to 4, 4 to 6. One of those hours. I forget.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there's 400 people every day that come to Miami.
That too.
I mean, you got to be a real sicko to live in there.
Because think about it, like, I get there's this whole world of people that just do this without either their families knowing or whatever. Who cares? That's each their own. We know tons of people who do this. Once you make it a residence, like, why do you have a fucking condo there?
They're like, so where's your second home? Oh, it's in Miami. Where? At 11.
Yeah, it's one thing to be like, oh yeah, my husband's in Ibiza with some friends on a boat trip. Like, you can figure that. You can, like, kind of sugarcoat that a little. You can't sugarcoat my husband's at 11.
He's staying at our beach house in Miami. Oh my God! All right, well, that was fun. What do we have?
Where's our clever shout out? I want to hear what this guy's got to say.
Oh yeah, he sent one. Here's what he said. Today is Shah Rukh Khan.
Yeah.
California still. Hello, gang. Hope your day has been splendid. Shout out to Tim for being a good sport, and welcome back, Pete. Damn, the shout out portion of the pod has gotten long. Apologies on my behalf. Let's make it longer. Curious about your guys' thoughts on influencer run businesses. This is a topic you've barely touched on in the past. Mr. Beast has a ghost kitchen. Dyrdek has a perfume, puzzle, and a pizza. Outside of merch, there's been calendars, energy drinks, coffee, makeup, and lemonade. Paltrow isn't a digital star, but has a vagina-scented candle that apparently exploded this week in someone's house. Seems like, did you see that headline? That Gwyneth Paltrow's candle exploded in someone's house.
Yes, I did hear that.
Poorly worded. Seems like a good market for We're Not Really Strangers to address. Would love to hear your thoughts on this. If not, no worries. I understand the time is short. Have a great rest of your week and congrats on the microchip on it.
So Shah Rukh Khan, thank you for the question. That's who asked the question, right?
Yeah.
So for you, Tim, Shah Rukh Khan's the biggest Indian star in the world.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He's Satoshi. He created Bitcoin. He's the biggest Bollywood star in the world. This guy's got a lot of talents.
Yeah.
So on the question, great question. I think it's the future of brands are going to be created. You know, you can use the word influencer, and I think people have a negative connotation when it comes to influencers. I think the word, you can call it creators, you can call it whatever it is. It's the next generation of talent. So the same way that celebrities have always been building brands, it is now in the hands of these young folks that have built cult-like followings, and they're going to disrupt every single category you can ever imagine. I don't think anything is sacred. I think, you'll even see social networks pop up around individuals because I think they're that powerful and that influential. So yes, we don't spend a lot of time talking about it, but I do believe in it. I'm actively working on many projects in the space with a lot of different creators. So I'm very well versed, and I work with some huge stars on this area. And I think this is such early days. You're going to see the entire grocery store upended. You're going to see every place where you buy anything that's a brand will eventually be replaced by brands that actually are driven by your favorite creator. And, the big brands, the way they'll participate is they're either going to snap up all these creators and start paying them boatloads of money or go build brands with them, or they'll get disrupted and leave. That's it. Thanks, Shah Rukh.
And then we got a shout out from Carlo. Carlo says, hi, longtime listener. Carlo's from OC. Says, hi, longtime listener from, this is my first shout out request. I wanted to ask if you could please give a shout out and congratulations to fellow Kathy Oscar and his fiance Marisol on welcoming their first baby girl, Adeline, born on January 21st, 2021.
Congratulations.
Oscar will make her a Kathy also and send her to GCU when she's older.
Yeah, save the money.
You're not going to be sleeping, so you have enough time to listen to our podcast.
Yeah. Congratulations, Oscar.
Congrats.
Rolling off, we have two Indian shout-outs today. One from Shah Rukh Khan. Another one is from Prithvi Raj, who is moving to Bangalore. He listens to the podcast. He said he's the number one fan from India. Prithvi, Shah Rukh Khan just shouted us out. So I don't know. You might be number two, bro.
Where is he moving from to Bangalore?
I don't know. I think I've talked to him before on Instagram. I'm not too sure. He just joined an artificial intelligence machine learning startup. This is what they're doing in India while we're trying to figure out how to teach our kids how to TikTok. They're doing artificial intelligence machine learning startup. Shout out to you, Prithvi. If you're successful and become a billionaire, you could overtake Shah Rukh and be the number one fan. But right now, you're number two.
And you can host us in Bangalore when you're a billionaire, because that's where we go when we visit India.
Yes, I'll take a free meal.
Perfect.
The only other thing we have is I got an incredible amount of feedback on the Menlo Club situation. I talked about in the podcast last week how we were delaying our packages because of issues at the port. We gave an offering where people could use store credit, $120 of store credit to buy whatever they want. So many nice messages from so many people. So thank you very much. And if you haven't joined Menlo Club yet, we have two options. We have a monthly membership and we have a seasonal membership. So go check out, go head on over to our website, the Menlo House, or just Google the Menlo Club. And there's a number of offers that you can potentially find on the internet, but the monthly is a monthly package every month. You then get access to our e-commerce store, and you get 25% off and free shipping off all of our goods. So even if there are things we make that you like, you'd be better off becoming a member for a short period of time and buying whatever you want and get that discount and then move forward. So there's a seasonal membership for people that don't need the frequency as much, and that's every 3 months. You can pause anytime. You can cancel anytime. I just looked up a stat the other day that was fascinating. 70+% of our membership has been with us for more than 2 years. That's
70%?
insane.
Say that again?
70% of our membership has been with us for 2 years or more.
Sounds like you could have a big clubhouse room.
Yeah. Menlo Clubhouse.
That's good.
But so thank you everyone who's been a loyal member for so long, and check us out. I think, the country's reopening. You've been slumming it, wearing sweats this whole time. It's time to get a haircut, lose a couple LBs, and get in shape and look good, because when you have to go back to work, everyone's gonna be like, wow, you look so great.
Yeah.
You lose some weight, get some new clothes. That's how you want people to feel jealous, like they wasted their whole quarantine. And you look amazing.
Exactly.
Join the Menlo Club.
We'll see you on Tuesday.
Peace.
Peace.